Hey guys, welcome to the blog. As you can see by the shirt, we're talking parenthood today. You know, as a writer, I love stories. And I think that everyone's life tells a story. And as a parent, I believe that my responsibility is to write the first few chapters of my children's story and to do it well while they are too young and helpless to do it themselves. And then as they get a little bit older, my responsibility is to teach them how to begin to write their own story well. And eventually, they will write their own story. They will write Act 2 and Act 3 of their story using the skills they learned while writing Act 1. And then if I've done a good job as a parent, they'll write a story that I can be proud of. And not just that, they'll write a story that's so far beyond anything that I could have imagined to write for them. You know, I'm a relatively new parent. I've only been a parent for a couple of years. And I don't have it all figured out. I have really very little figured out. But there's one thing I've noticed, and I noticed growing up, and that's that, moms do such a good job these days. And dads often not so much. A lot of men didn't have a good example of a solid father or grandfather, and society has shifted so much that it's difficult to be a good father. But it's such an important role because moms craft humans. They show you how to be a human being. But dads have the responsibility of setting the direction of their children's life. And that's such a huge responsibility. And, I don't judge non-traditional families. Some of the very best parents I know are in non-traditional parenting situations. And I think that is amazing, amazing. But I think as a dad, we have a huge responsibility to set the direction of our children's life. But we have actually an even bigger responsibility than that. God, when he was telling the story of humanity, and when he was telling his story, he chose one picture most often to tell people what he was like. And that was the picture of a father. God referred to himself most often as a father. And so that leaves men and dads, fathers, with a huge responsibility. Because not only do we set the direction of our children's lives, we are actually the very best picture of God's relationship to humanity that there is, both for our children and for society in general. It's a huge responsibility. And I think actually that's one of the reasons a lot of people, especially in America, have such a tough time picturing God as loving or picturing God in the way that God really is. And that's because they didn't have a great relationship with their fathers, or their father didn't set a good example or show them a good picture. And so that's one of the reasons that I talk about this so much and I do this blog. It's because a lot of people didn't have a good example to follow. And so I talk about my father or my grandfather, and I want to show people an example for those that didn't have one. But to me, that's a huge responsibility. To show people the very best picture of God's relationship with man. That's big. And as guys, we really need to step it up. Like I said, I'm a new father. I've only been a father for a couple of years. I haven't got it all figured out, but I'd love to hear from you. If you have some advice for me, if you have comments or questions, comment on my blog. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to talk to you about it. Either way, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you guys taking a few minutes to listen, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.